Okay, so today's lecture is connected to Thomas Nagel's book, What Does It All Mean? The chapter on right and wrong, which starts around page 60 or so, and you should have that text available. The other thing that I want to connect back to is something that Socrates does, and something that we really learn from Socrates, which has to do with logic and the requirements for any belief to be true. So one of the things that Socrates does, as you see in the Apology and the Euthyphro, is he brings people to a position where they contradict themselves. So, for example, Euthyphro says that the pious equals what's loved by the gods, right? And then Socrates says, that there are many gods, because the Greeks believed in that sort of thing, and the gods disagree. For example, Athena wants you to study, Dionysius wants you to party, and the two things are incompatible with each other. And so if the pious is what's loved by gods, and there's many gods, and the gods disagree, then something, let's say A, could be both pious and not pious at the same time. That can't be true. Something can't be pious and not pious at the same time in the same way. So Euthyphro is wrong. One of these could be true, but we don't know which one, but this can't be true because it's a logical contradiction. All right, so Nagel uses a similar sort of argument structure when he's talking about the way that ethics relates to other value systems or other ways of thinking about value. So just as an example, if you believed that, let's say, murder is wrong, right? That doesn't necessarily mean the same thing as murder is illegal. Law and ethics can't be the same thing, and here's why. There could be a law that requires you, for example, to return escaped slaves back to their masters, the Fugitive Slave Act. Many people, like John Brown or Harriet Beecher Stowe, believed that was a bad law. How could you evaluate a law if the only means of evaluation is law, right? So if you say it's a bad law, and law is the source of good and bad, then it's both bad and good at the same time, and that can't be right. It's good and not good. So what you do when you come into this kind of a situation is you make when you see a contradiction like that, one philosophical method and a way of deepening your thought is to make a distinction. Okay, so let's use a sort of popular proof method to sort of evaluate the way that ethics relates to other ways in which we say that something is good or not good, or right or not right, and so on. For example, go back to law. If you draw a circle, right, this is a Venn diagram. Let's call that the circle of everything that law could be about. And then here's another circle, which is ethics. And so the question you might want to ask is there anything that exists here in the intersection of ethics and law? And of course there is. Murder is ethically wrong. I'm going to just go on a limb and say that. And in most places, murder is illegal. It's both illegal and wrong. So therefore, it lives in this area, the intersection, the set of all legal things and all ethical things. But here's the question, right? The big question is, could there be something out here that is within the realm of ethics, but has nothing to do with law at all? And could there be something over here, which is in the realm of law, but has nothing to do with right and wrong? So let me just give you an example. If you think one example should be enough, because that should lead you to think of a whole lot of other ones. So, for example, let's talk about adultery. So cheating on your spouse is something that I think many of us would agree is wrong. Now, if you and your spouse have an agreement, an arrangement, whatever, that's one thing. But like secretly sneaking out and cheating on your spouse, I think of as being something that's pretty wrong. It lives within the realm of ethics, but it's not against the law. at least not in the United States. Some places it is, other places it isn't. It's wrong, let's say, but not illegal. Also, you could have examples of things that the law covers that maybe have nothing to do with right and wrong. Like, for example, drive on the right. If it's the law that we drive on the right-hand side of the road, then that's the law, and it's wrong to drive on the other side of the road in a legal sense. But there's nothing ethical about what side of the road we drive on. People who drive on the other side of the road aren't doing it in an unethical way. They're just doing it in one legal system that has a different set of rules than the legal system that we have. So law and ethics intersect, but they can't be the same thing. So don't ever make the argument that something is morally wrong because it's against the law. Because it's against the law cannot be an argument for something being unethical. Likewise, for example, using marijuana. Is using marijuana unethical? You can't make the argument that it's unethical because it's against the law, because there could be a bad law. There could be a law that prohibits people from doing something that's right or commands them to do something that's ethically wrong. Okay, so if you take these two Venn diagrams, or this Venn diagram, and look at another example that Nagel talks about, self-interest. Right? Self-interest is looking out for yourself, doing the things that are going to benefit you and lead to your own happiness. And ethics. Now, to say that everything that is ethical is in your interest is actually a possible position. And as we're going to see later on, Aristotle essentially holds that to be true. But certainly, just for the purposes of thinking about this in an introductory way, there are things that are ethical that are also in your self-interest. So, for example,